Hey everyone, let's see. I'm just checking the stream here. Should be rolling. Stream health looks good. All right, it's Thursday. It's live office hours time on YouTube. Glad everybody is here. Chime in, say hello. I love to see the chat rolling. Love it. Today we're going to be talking about how to create a target company list for your job search. But before we do that, I know some of you have no idea who I am. I'm glad to have you. I just want to say a quick hello, introduce myself, tell you some goodies I have, and tell you how the program works and all that good stuff. So my name's Andy LaCivita. I am the award-winning author of The Hiring Prophecies and Interview Intervention, and I've made it my mission in life to help people succeed in their careers. I do that through a handful of really fun mediums. One is the executive search firm I founded in 2004. It's called milewalk. And more recently, the milewalk Academy, which is my online training and coaching site. And I also love to blog. I blog at Tips for Work and Life, which is a top careers blogging site. It's a multi-modality with videos, podcasts, articles, and all that good stuff. So I've been having a ton of fun with that. So all those links are in the description to this live session and the recorded video that will follow. I also want you to know that my entire social platform is in the links as well. So Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever it is you like to use, I'm on that platform and I enjoy engaging with you there as well. The other thing is, in the description, I've also got two great free giveaways. One is a 10 by 10 job search formula of mine. It is a wonderful workbook and an assessment. You can take a neat little assessment to gauge the health of and strength of your job search. It'll tell you what you're doing well. It'll tell you the areas you need to improve. I've also included 10 of the most effective steps I think you need to take in creating a successful job search so that you ultimately find the right job the fastest. I've also given you some pro tips on how to go about those steps, as well as all the mistakes to try to avoid, the really common mistakes. I think there's 23 or 25 of them that I've highlighted. So check that out. And if you want more coaching along those lines, I've also got an hour and 7-minute webinar called How to Find a Job You Love. It goes hand in hand with my job search formula. It's the 10 steps. I just spend a lot more time talking you through those 10 steps and those 10 pro tips. So all that stuff is in the description. And today we got a great session. If you've never stopped by, here's how this works. I'm going to spend, 25 minutes or so teaching on the topic, and I will then answer all your questions, as many as I can within the hour. If you're welcome to chat with each other, encourage each other. I love how active my YouTube and Tips for Work and Life community is. So cheer each other on, exchange info, whatever you want to do. If you have questions you want me to answer, you don't need to wait until the end. Just start typing your question, but when you do, put some question marks in front of the question so that I can scan through the chat. I don't look at the chat while I'm teaching. It's just totally distracting. It's very hard to concentrate. So I just want to let you know I've got a lot of fun things in store today. Now let's talk about the topic, the how to create a target company list for your job search. And I'm going to give you 12 steps in how I would go about creating that. But before we do that, I know some of you might be thinking, Andy, what do I even need this for? Hey, I'm an engineer. I just want to find another engineering job at a different company. I can, or I'm an accountant or a project manager, whatever you might be. And I just hop on the boards and look to see what's available. But that's not the most effective way to bring yourself to market, and there's a ton of value in creating a target company list. And so there's dozens of reasons why this is a good thing to do. I'm going to give you 5 of my favorite reasons why I would do it, and then we'll roll right into what those 12 steps are. So the first thing is, I want you to think about, just from a mindset and an organizational standpoint, the benefit right there. You join a company, you do not join a job, people. You join companies, that's your destination, or at least what you hope to be as a destination for some many years. but that's where you want to go. So just from a mindset standpoint, think about bringing yourself to the market and targeting organizations. It does a number of things. Number one, it also makes it easier for you to organize your approach to the search. Think in terms of companies, think in terms of markets and industries and those kind of things. That'll start spawning good ideas about other places you might want to go based on the companies that you're starting to list. When you do that from a positional standpoint, it limits your thinking. I just want to be an engineer. Let's just see what engineering positions are open. Companies have many, many positions that you might be able to take on. Just think in terms of bringing yourself to the market and give yourself the best organizational approach to tracking what you're doing. And that's by companies, not positions. So number two, it increases your possibilities and increases your opportunities. And you might be wondering, well, how is that the case? Aren't my opportunities, what's listed and available? Well, in some respects, that's true. But think about good organizations, great organizations, that is. They're hiring all the time, whether they have a job posting that's publicized or not. They are always looking for great talent. There's a great book I read a long time ago by Jim Collins called Good to Great. It's a must read if you're in business, and why some organizations reach very high levels while others meander along. Those types of organizations are always looking for the best resources. And if they don't have the budget, they'll create the budget. If they can't create the budget, let's just talk statistics for a second. If you're an engineer and there are 10 engineers at a particular company that you're targeting, I assure you that one or two of those engineers can go in favor of you. Companies are always looking to trade out their worst performers in favor of better performers. So here's a situation where they don't even have to create any more budget and they can replace somebody. Think about larger companies. Start adding a 0 or 2 or 3 on the end of that number. If that company's got 100 people or 200 people, that's 10 or 20 people that can go. So that's just simple math. So you're increasing your possibilities by looking at it from a company vantage point as opposed to a position vantage point. Number 3, it also helps you from a networking standpoint. And how might that be? I am always trying to educate people on how to do directed networking, because one of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is they say, oh, Andy, I watched your videos. You're telling me I need to network more because I'm a senior resource and all that good stuff. Well, that's true. And most people don't even network enough. But let's just say you are networking. One of the biggest mistakes I see people making when they're networking is, they're out of a job or they want to look for a new job. They start calling all their friends and their long lost relatives and they say, hey, I'm out of work. I'm looking for something. You know of anything? Well, how's your network going to help you when you dump that person into a wide open ocean and now there's just too much for me to wrap my mind around? I'm not really sure how to help you. But it's much different if you build what I call is like a little relationship map. If you target the organizations or the destinations where you want to arrive or that you want your endpoint to be, and you start building little relationship maps with tools like LinkedIn, you can look at an organization, you can try to backtrack and see how you might get to that organization, who you might know. So if your cousin Jane Smith happens to know John Doe over at company XYZ, you can reach out to cousin Jane and say, hey, cuz, can you take one for the family? I noticed you are connected with so-and-so at such and such a company. I'm really interested in getting to that organization. Would you make an introduction? So it's much easier for her to help you if she understands a smaller scope of what it is that you need. And on the other hand, I know you don't want to limit her thinking. You can always say, and do you know of anything else? Or, hey, I've got these other organizations too that I'm targeting. Might you know anybody there? All that stuff is great. That helps her help you. It really does. So it gives you a much better chance of being successful and getting more help from your network if you direct them in how to better help you. So that's another benefit. So let's say that's number 3. Number 4, in addition to increasing your possibilities, like I mentioned in point number 2, it decreases the competition. So how might you wonder about that? Well, let's think about it. When you are submitting your resume into the applicant tracking system, what does it make you feel like when you put that resume in and it says, you are candidate number 3,794 who's applied for this position? Totally deflating. But when you reach into a company, Who else is reaching into that company that's occupying that recruiter or human resources person or hiring official's attention? Nobody, unless they're watching this video with you or they're in Andy's job searching classes. Well, all right, so maybe not nobody, but there's going to be a lot less people who are submitting their resumes to those organizations. Organizations like that retrieve those inquiries. Sometimes on their website, they'll say, hey, if you're interested in joining our company, send your resume to so-and-so or careers at such and such a company, whatever it might be, or maybe you just found somebody on LinkedIn and you're reaching into that person. They give more thought and care and attention to the resumes that they get because they're getting a lot fewer of them. So there's a little bit more care. And the other thing is when you're putting yourself in motion, we're going to talk a little more about this, but the momentum that you gain, good things happen when you try stuff, because when you send your resume into an organization that may not be recruiting, the recruiter at this company looks at your resume and says, hey, this is a pretty sharp cover letter and resume. This person has something on the ball. We just don't have anything at our organization for that person, but they've got a recruiter friend at such and such a company. Things like that happen, but they can only happen if you're in the game. So that's another benefit that really decreases competition. And then to kind of round out a few that I want to share with you, number 5, and I saved this one for last. I don't want you poo-pooing on this one. It is a mental thing for me, and I think it's probably one of the most important things for you when you job search. Your mental control, the confidence that you bring. And you might be wondering, what the heck is he talking about? Well, think about when I'm coaching somebody and when I'm teaching them through my online training and all that good stuff. We always talk about focus on what you can control. Focus on putting a good resume together, focus on writing a great cover letter, focus on putting it in the applicant tracking system, and so on. You can't control whether somebody reviews it. Well, think about your target company list. You can control wherever you want to send your resume. Nobody can prevent you from sending your resume to a company. They simply can't. You can send it, mail it, you can email it, you do whatever you want. Now, they might not respond. That's fine. That's up to them. But you can control where you send it. And the more action you have going, remember, it only takes one. So I can put a good resume together. I can put a good cover letter together. I can make a good company target list. I can send it to that company even though they don't have a publicized opening. And folks, you have absolutely no excuse not to send your cover letter and resume to companies who are not publicizing opportunities. And the reason you have no excuse is because I shot a video that's on my YouTube channel about how to target companies that don't have publicized openings. I've even given you the cover letter. I've called it my no job opening cover letter, or AKA my 7-sentence cover letter. It's out there, it's free, check it out, but you've got those tactics, so you really don't have any excuses. So I just want to make sure that you have a good understanding of the value. Now, okay, so let's say you're with me. Let's say you agree. Let's say you think this is a good idea. Andy knows what he's talking about. How do we put that list together to begin with? So one thing I want to do here is I actually, just so you have it and it's easy for you to see it, I've got one slide from my job search bootcamp that lists these 12 things because I want you to visualize these things. So I'm going to flop over and I'm going to switch over to to my company listing here, and I'm going to walk you through these 12. Let me just I'm just going to glance here at the chat really quick. Looks like we got a whole bunch of fun people on here. We got some questions going. Everything looks like it's going well. Nothing's blowing up. Good morning to everybody. Okay, let's talk about how would I build this list? So the first thing, now this is a big one, and it's not something a lot of people do. I want you to simply think. And you might be thinking, well, what is that? Well, let me give you a great example. I was working with a coaching client of mine. He's a one-on-one coaching client, and he is a fantastic guy, very good track record of selling consumer product goods. So basically, he sells things that people use, but he doesn't sell them directly to the individual. He sends them to, or he sells them to the retailers who ultimately send them to the people. or sell them to the people. So he's sold golf equipment, he has sold outdoor equipment, he's sold hardware equipment, things of that nature. So we're having a bite to eat, and I say to him, okay, let's just look at your background, think about what it is that you've done, and what types of companies could we just start listing. The first thing is to brainstorm this. What kind of companies can we list on your target company list? He says, well, all the golfing companies. So we listed a dozen of those. And then he said, well, and obviously all the outdoors companies. So we started listing companies like Cabela's and other hunting and fishing stores. So we listed a bunch of those. He says, well, and hardware as well. So we started thinking about, okay, all the different hardware stores. And so, and then he says, well, I could look at all the different categories of consumer products, things like toys and other things like that. Well, before you know it, the food hadn't even come to the table. We hadn't even opened a computer, and we already had 30 some odd companies that he could start targeting. And we didn't even open a computer yet. So I want you to think in those terms. I remember here's another funny story that I wanted to share. When I was a 20-year-old college student, I was a super cool electrical engineering undergraduate. I had this funky long hair that I used to wrap into a ponytail. My dad hated it, and I was coming home for Christmas break, so I was kind of middle of the year, and so a handful of months before the summer. So I come in, I give Dad a big hug. We're a big hugging family. So we sit down at the kitchen table. And I catch Dad up on all my school studies and all this good stuff. He says, yeah, that's great. He says, well, listen, I actually, now that you're getting up there in your college years, it might be a good thing to think about going and getting an internship at an engineering firm, so that you have some experience on your resume that's a lot like, what it is that you want to, type of job you want to get when you get out of school. And I said, okay, that's a good idea. I had always worked, 40 hours a week in the summer to generate enough money, but I had never had an internship. So he says, so I actually, a couple of weeks ago, I went to the library and I started to make this list of these companies. And he said, I've gathered a bunch of them, and I think you ought to try, let's start with these 5. And I said, oh, okay, well, do you know, are they looking for interns? He says, no, I have no idea. They're in your field. You need to call them and send your resume in and see what they say. So I said, oh, okay, I'll do it. He says, okay, before you do that, make sure to cut the ponytail because it looks ridiculous. I said, okay, Dad, great talk, Dad. And so I start to think about, well, how am I going to approach this? So I reach into the company, I call them, and I say, hey, my name's Andy, and I'm looking for a job. I didn't tell them that I was looking for an internship because I didn't want them to say, well, we don't have interns. The point is you got to keep the engagement going. So I said, who is it that I would send my resume to? Because if I'm looking for a job, they said, well, it's Susie over in that building, and here's her address, and here's her address and title and contact information. So I printed out my cover letter because we didn't have the internet submissions back in those days, and I put my resume in the envelope, and for some unforsaken reason, it was in yellow paper because somebody told me that I should have this colored resume because when they look at a pile of resumes, you want yours to stand out. I would not recommend that. So anyway, off it went. I had absolutely no idea whether these organizations would hire an intern. And I got 4 bong letters back, but I got one that called me and said, hey, you know what? We don't really have an internship program, but we've been thinking about one. So why don't we spend a few minutes and let's talk? And so we had kind of an impromptu phone interview right there. And so my point is, if you just think through those organizations that might use your type of services or could use a person like you, you never know what can happen, but you gotta get in the game. So now, you don't have to send your dad to the library. You can also use Mr. Google. So, think through the types of organizations, then start Googling a little. Best consumer products companies to work for, best engineering firms in the Chicagoland area, whatever it might be. These first 2 are very basic. It should be common sense, but hey, listen, I never said all 12 of these were going to be rocket science, but you've got to be organized in your line of thinking because this tool is going to be vital for your success. So take advantage of your Noodle and take advantage of Mr. Google. and just start getting this brainstorming session with yourself in motion so you can start generating this company list. So it's really, really important that you give yourself a running start. Then you can get a little fancier. Then you can get a little fancier. Here's one that I really like, and I mentioned, kind of best companies to work for, best consumer products companies to work for, and so on. One thing that I'm a huge fan of is best of lists. There are many institutions that put out best of lists every year, and they talk about best small companies to work for, best consulting firms to work for, best healthcare companies to work for. They chop it up many different ways, and there's these listings. There's a reason these companies get on these lists. They're hiring the best people, and they're doing the coolest stuff, and they're growing quickly as well. So there's also the fastest growing lists. One thing that I always love to do is not only look for the fastest growing organizations, fastest growing small companies, fastest growing private companies. There's lists like the Inc. 500 and the Inc. 5000. Those organizations have a 5-year track, in the Inc. 500 and the Inc. 5000 have a 5-year track record of growth. Companies that are growing are hiring, and those companies in the Inc. 500 and the Inc. 5000 that are privately held organizations, those organizations have a lot more flexibility in who they hire and when they hire. So those are great techniques to augment your thinking and your Googling and so on. I'm pretty darn certain that I have a best of and fastest growing lists little clip on my YouTube video, or on my YouTube channel. There's a video out there. So I would check that out. I would also look at schools and alumni services. For those of you who have graduated, it doesn't matter how long ago you graduated, or especially for those recent college graduates. Lots of times your undergraduate or your master's schooling, especially those folks that are getting MBAs and things of that nature, those schools will offer services, or if not actual services of helping you on an outplacement basis. They will a lot of times have websites that you can use. You have to be an alumni to have access to those. But lots of time, I know a lot of the MBA schools in the Chicagoland area, like University of Chicago, Northwestern, and schools of that nature, they always do that. The other thing is, I stress the word lists in number 6, networking group lists. I'm not talking about spending a lot of your time at networking meetings that are filled with lots of people who are looking for jobs. That's not, in my opinion, a prudent use of your time. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm talking about networking group lists. So there are groups like LinkedIn groups that you can usually access people within them. LinkedIn, I don't believe, at least to my knowledge, publicizes those lists. Maybe they're constantly changing, so you might want to double check me there. But there are definitely meetup group lists and other, I can think of a number of networking groups in the financial industry and in the marketing profession, and some of these others that have large lists of people that are within a group that you can access. So this is another thing to do, is look at these networking group lists, see where people are working, and actually start adding those companies to your target company list. Then you should LinkedIn browse. This is as good as a Google search. LinkedIn is full of opportunities. You should start following companies, adding them to your lists. You can do some very basic searches in LinkedIn's, well, they call it advanced search, but they're fairly basic. You can start popping in your title and look for companies who are out there that just pop up in your search. That's another great one. One thing that I definitely recommend you do is you get a LinkedIn contacts export. There is a way, if you're not sure how to do this, just Google it, but it's very simple. You click a button or two, and you tell LinkedIn, hey, give me my contacts. LinkedIn, I think, gives you 2 options. It gives you like all the information, name, email, phone number, a bunch of other stuff. And then there's one that I think is kind of an abridged version where it's got your name, the person's first name, last name, company name, email address, and so on. And so when you get that extracted, Then what I would do is sort it, take your CSV file and use it in Excel or whatever tool you'd like to, and then sort it by company. Just sort it alphabetically and look through the companies and see companies that ring a bell in your head. Look to see, now LinkedIn is giving you your first level connections. So these are people that you at least know, or if you're an open networker, somebody who is willing to open network with you, who obviously values the fact that you're connected with them. So take a look at the company, so kind of cut it up by company. Then what I would do is then I would take the list and I would sort it alphabetically by name. And then I would look through your contacts and I would see who it is that you know and where it is they work. And then if you've got a nice connection there, then add that company to your company target list if it makes sense. Now, mind you, there's a whole lot we're going to do with this target list. This lesson today is about how you build this list. So you are looking for different ways. It's kind of like, number 8, 9, 10, or 7, 8, 9, 10. This is different ways of kind of vacuuming the carpet. You vacuum it in one direction, then you cross it over 90 degrees. You're looking to get up all the dirt and the dust. Well, this is a way for you to surface additional organizations that you could potentially target. Now, another way and by the way, my next one or two, I'm still talking about company-centric outlook here. I'm a big fan of Indeed because it is a job board aggregator or job posting aggregator. So it is pulling positions that are publicized from all over the place. And companies who are paying Indeed or Indeed is extracting them. I don't necessarily want you to go at it and the first crack to look just for position, but if you're a project manager and you put project manager in the descriptor or in your search bar and it comes back with all the project management descriptions, perhaps in your geographical location or region, what I would then do, instead of looking at all the specific positions, I would look at all the different companies that are hiring for those positions and see which organizations you want to target, because in other lessons of mine, my first inclination is never to just submit your resume through an applicant tracking system. It's try to find somebody in your network who can walk your resume and things of that nature. So at this point, you're still just focusing on gathering company names, but Indeed is a great place to do that, and especially if you want to leverage your particular position to do that. So that's one. And then another one that I like is Glassdoor. Glassdoor is a great tool for you to go out. You can chop that up in a whole bunch of different directions. But Glassdoor is another one. You can kind of treat it the same way you would Indeed. This kind of rounds out the nifty dozen that I was talking about. Now, there are tons of ways to get company names on your list. I'm sure there's 100 more. But these are 12 of my favorite that I think will get you to 100 or 150 companies very quickly, almost irrespective of the position you hold. Although, as I say that, I don't know. I got a wonderful email today from a marine biologist who I haven't gotten back to yet. I don't know if she's on this, but some people are going to have a more narrow company listing than others. But a lot of you, most of you, are going to have lots of organizations that you can look at. And I understand what you're saying is like, well, hang on, I'm working in an area where, I'm in more of a rural area, so there's not as many companies. All right, well, that's fine. Or even if I'm in a big city like Andy is in Chicago or New York or wherever, but this company that I want to work for is headquartered in Missouri. Well, that's fine. If they're headquartered in Missouri, maybe they've got a New York or Chicago presence. Or maybe you just realize that that's not a possibility for you. Or maybe you're up for a relocation. I don't know. But the point is, you got to get in the game. The best way to do that is to have a holistic view of the potential companies that you could target, and then organize these and prioritize how you'll go after them based on who the company is, how interested you are to work there. Also, who do you know that works there, or who do they know that works there? So the strength of your relationship or their geographical location. So all these things will help you prioritize it. But today I wanted to focus on making sure that you had a good company listing. And I think that is a good way to go about it. And I am now putting myself back on the camera, and I want to get ready for the Q&A. But before we do that, I just want to make sure if you're loving this stuff, I see there's a ton of people on here. I love having you. Make sure if you're loving this, click the like button, click the share button, give me your questions. And if you are somebody who is listening to this on the podcast platform, that's right, I don't know if all of you know this, but I am on every imaginable podcast platform. So this live video is recorded for people to watch. It'll be released on Tuesday. If you want more coaching, you got to hop over to the YouTube channel and look for the video. For everybody else, I'm here. We're gonna spend 30 more minutes, and we're gonna answer your questions. So I'm gonna look through give me one quick second here to shut a few things down so I don't have all this noise in front of me. And let me switch over to all you wonderful people. Okay, wait, let's see who's here. Philip, Arjun, Race B, what's up with you? Linda M, Heather Atwood, how you doing? Ingrid, Kara's always with me. Jasmine just got a new job. Baby Turtle, Deb, Rudzi, David's in the house. Lauren, Chris, Kyle, Anna, hey Anna. Hope you guys are staying warm. Kenneth, good to see you. So Anna and Kenneth are a couple of boot campers. I love these guys, getting to know them well. And by the way, and no selling in this. This is all for fun and all Q&A for you. But this weekend I got a flash sale on some things, and you guys can get a taste of the boot camp or the whole boot camp. It's all going to be fun, and so keep an eye out for that. All right, so Daniel's here, Alfredo's here, Elliot, Marco, Jose, Mendez. How you doing, buddy? My Brazilian friend. We got Christina from Russia. Joan, how are you? William, good to see this. Glad. Oh, we got a newbie here. Gary Vine, good to see you. R. Walker, that's my Russian friend. Okay, we loads of people, lots of fun. Vicky's here. Brian, Clayton. All right, Kara is telling me. Who's Kara? Who was the first question? Did I miss the question? Hang on. Anthony and Vicky are the first question. She's telling me, Anthony, hello from Connecticut. Sixto, my Berwyn friend. We're going to get dumped on with snow, but not down in Huntington Beach. All right, Anthony, here we go. I think I got the first question. Anthony Fabricatore. I love the name. I love it. Maybe that's a fellow Italian. Who believes in the value of mock interview I'm assuming trails beforehand? So there's no question mock interviews will help you. One of the things that you can do, I believe I offer a free giveaway called Ace Your Job Interview, Master the Best, the 14, oh God, I always got these catchy subtitles. Master the best answers to the 14 most effective job interview questions. That's it. I've got a booklet. Anthony, if you want to practice interviews, I've got a webinar called 3 Keys to Ace Any Job Interview. In that webinar, there is an ebook I give away called Ace Your Job Interview. I give you the 14 most effective job interview questions that you can be asked, 43 variations of those questions. I give you a little color commentary. I tell you what the employer is looking for, and I give you the very best responses. Check that out, because that will give you some trials on your own, and I would try that. So that's another giveaway. It's not in the description, but just go to the milewalkacademy.com, and if you scroll down a bit, there's a webinar, and you'll see it. There's a little card there that says 3 Keys to Ace Any Job Interview. It's a recorded webinar. You can click it, and you can watch it within several times throughout the day. All right. Vicky Williams, great to have you. All right, what about when the target is the natural progression of promoting in government work? Vicky, I'm so sorry. I'm not entirely sure what the question is. So what about when the target is the natural progression of promoting in government work? Does that mean you are in the government and your target is the same institution or governmental institution that you're working for? I'll tell you what, if you if you just go to the bottom, I will have Kara watch it, read it, and Slack it to me, and then I will answer that question. All right. Oh my goodness. Glory from Colombia is here, and right below Glory is my wife and her entire third grade class. Can we give Linda LaCivita a shout out? Here's to all of the third graders at Hilltop Elementary in McHenry, Illinois, from Mr. LaCivita. Okay, Don is here. Paul, Don, we've got friends on the YouTube channel. I love it. Anthony's in real estate. I'm just zipping down, folks. I'm just trying to make sure. Paul, you are welcome on the tip. Jasmine, how are you? I have a phone interview tomorrow, and they mention using the STAR technique. What's the best way to use it? Folks, I love the question. Jasmine, that is a situation, task, action, and response, I believe the acronym is. But basically, my best suggestion here again, most of the time, when organizations are asking you historical questions, meaning, or a behavioral interview question about a time where something occurred in the past and they're looking for how you handled it. They're looking for a story about something you've already done. What was the situation? What were you tasked with? What was the action you took? And so on. So what I would do, actually, I'm going to refer you back, same thing. If you check out the 3 keys to ace any job interview, I tell you exactly how to package the story, the historical story, and I give you the most likely questions you are to be asked to do the STAR response. So I would also Google critical behavior interviewing questions and the STAR technique as well. But I go into detail, and that 3 keys to ace any job interview is about an hour. It is totally worth watching, and if you've watched already, I'd rewatch it. But I go through how to tell the stories using those techniques. All right, Philip, remember to add question before your question. Thank you for the reminder, because it is hard. All right, Kara is asking or mentioned that Vicky, who asked the question about the government situation. I want to try to go back here. Sorry, folks, I'm sliding back up. Guys are so active. I love it. All right, hang on. Just zipping down. I want to get my spot again. So Vicky asked. Vicky was asking, I don't want to lose the spot. So Vicky was asking what to do if you're targeting something internally, which I'm assuming that's what you meant, internally, within the same organization. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not sure what the question is. If you know what the target is, one of the things that I would highly recommend for those of you who are going for internal promotions, but by the way, this goes for anybody, anywhere. I have a career achievements journal. You can grab it. You can Google it or go to my website and look to download it. Oh wait, hang on. Kara is. Okay, hang on. So let me read this. Vicky just posted, I'm in government work and I'm having trouble promoting from my current position in invoicing to analyst. So basically, I think Vicky wants to go to the next, which is the next promotional step. Okay, so I'm still going to continue with my answer because Vicky and everybody, you need to have this. I've got a great giveaway called the Career Achievements Journal. One of the things that's awesome about the Career Achievements Journal is it's got 14 elements that you need to collect about everything that you do related to a project in your work life. The reason it's a great journal to keep, or even go back in your history and see if you can populate some of the insight, is because what you're doing is you're actually collecting all of the most important insight on your accomplishments. What was the project, the statistics about it, the budget, the players, the benefit, the challenges, the things you learned, how you improved, how the company improved, and so on. One of the things you can do with the journal, obviously this is great from a memory standpoint and you're capturing the information. It should go on your resume for whenever you do decide to move on. But when you're working internally, it is a fantastic collection of insight that I would take with me to my annual reviews or my quarterly reviews or whenever it is that you do them. Because believe me, people, even your boss, doesn't always appreciate all the things that you do, and it's a great vehicle to highlight all the impacts and benefits that you've had in your position, whether it's last month's or last year's or whatever. It also, if you are in, if for all you people that are in larger organizations that are moving between divisions and whatever, it's a great vehicle to have. And the kicker is when you are in an interview, when you are responding to a question about something that happened on your resume, or even in the STAR technique, I can't remember who just asked that, but about the STAR technique, it is a great way to include the right kind of color commentary. And another benefit is it neutralizes the vocabulary for the interviewer and the interviewee and the job seeker, because when you start talking about the project, the business issues, the benefits, and so forth, everybody can understand that. Everybody gets that. That's common business language. So you're putting yourself on plane, whether it's a senior person or a more junior person or a peer or somebody in a different unit who's not as familiar with what you've done or the types of functions you've held. So I would grab that Career Achievements Journal, and because of the limitations of YouTube, we've realized we cannot put links in the chat, but I think the video is get promoted with this tool or something. Best way to get promoted. It's on my YouTube channel, but if you go to the milewalk blog, the Tips for Working Life blog, and just type in the search bar Career Achievements Journal, it will pop up. Okay, let me going down here. I think I'm back on track. Wow, I love this, man. You guys got some good jobs. There's Jasmine's question. Marco is here with a question. Thank you for putting all those question marks in. That made it easier to find. So the question is, Andy, what do you think about sending my CV for HR consultant company, and I'm wondering if that's, and talk directly with a consultant person? I'm wondering if what you mean is talking specifically to a consultant at the organization. When you are sending, Marco, if I understood your question correctly, you're asking about contacting a consultant directly at an organization. I think that's totally okay. I encourage it. If I'm not understanding the question, just go down to the bottom, clarify the question for me specifically. By the way, everybody, so not only put the question marks in the question, but try to give me as much detail as you can. And if you need to do like 2 chats, because I think you only get like 200 characters, feel free to do that. Just put them boom, boom, boom right next to each other, and I'll be able to sandwich them in. So my apologies if I didn't get that right. If you guys are enjoying this, make sure to subscribe to my channel too, by the way. And share this, because we still got another 20 minutes to go and people can jump on. All right. Race B. I was taking care of my mother after an accident for 6 years. I had to hold off college. Can I up on my resume, can I put on my resume I was a caretaker? I tell the truth, it's my mother when they ask. Sure, why not? Folks, honesty is good. If you, I got a bunch of emails last couple days about people who recently found me and they'd taken a year or 2 off. Some had taken many years off to care for relatives or whatever, care for relatives, care for their children, whatever it might be. That's your situation, plain as day. Lots of people are in that situation. Lots of people return to the workforce after an absence. Lots of people don't go right out of college into a job. Some take part-time jobs. It's okay. Just, that's your story. Tell it proudly. Tell it proudly. Morning, Paul. Morning, Don. Okay, R. Walker. Andy, I immigrated to the U.S. I am new to the country and found a part-time job in the industry that is not related to my past working experience. Do I include this lower-rated position in my resume? So R and all of the folks, this is also a common situation. Sometimes you take like a bridge job, and it's not exactly related, and then you work there for 3 months or 6 months, and all of a sudden, you're wondering, well, how do I accommodate this on my resume? There's a couple things you can do. If it's a short term, like just a month or 2 or 3, I wouldn't put it on, and I might leave it or what you could do if you have a number of these. Somebody had emailed me about having them scattered throughout her work history, that they were seasonal jobs or part-time jobs. You can put those at the end if you have a bunch of them and have worked seasonal jobs such as. But if it's very recent and it's a short stint, you could probably leave it off. If it starts to turn into a longer stretch, like 6 months or a year or something like that, I would put it on the resume. But I don't know if you've watched my Build Your Ultimate Professional Resume video, but in that video, it's about a 19-minute video. It's free. It's on my YouTube channel. It walks you right through how to fill out the resume. The reason I mention it is because at the top of the resume is a career profile, and I teach you how to fill that in. And then below the career profile, there's a career highlights section. The nice thing about laying your resume out that way is for somebody in your situation, if you have a situation where you had to take a job to make ends meet for a short period of time, in your career profile and your career highlights, you could highlight the other stuff that you did. And that's what is drawing the eyeballs first. That's what the recruiter's looking at first. That's what's grabbing their attention. So when they're zipping through your resume in a very quick manner, because remember, they're skimming it initially, they spend a few moments on that top section. They want to know if they should get excited about what they're about to read, and then they zip down into the body and the second page if you have 2 pages. And so you can put all your good stuff up top, and then you could have that small, current job. And then in your cover letter, you can address, I moved to the U.S. and I took a job immediately because I needed to. That's okay. That's totally okay. But it depends how long I was at that job, which would determine whether I put it up top or just simply left it off. Okay, hope that helped. William, I have a phone interview coming up, and I researched on the interview, and I found him on LinkedIn. Is it wise to send a connection request to him before our interview process? Okay, I'm going to answer. Okay, Kara is clearing up. Okay, wait. I'm going to answer William's question, and then I'm going to go back to Marco's question. William, and by the way, William, this is a great question because I get this one a ton. I have a phone interview coming up, and I researched on the interviewer, and I found him on LinkedIn. Is it wise to send a connection request to him before our interview sessions? Pros and cons. Okay, so this is an interesting one. Never, under any circumstances, should you send a LinkedIn request to somebody you do not know who you are about to interview. So the reason you don't want to do that is because you cannot. Remember, actually, earlier in the session I was talking about, I always want you to focus on what you can control. So you can control whether you send them the link request or not, LinkedIn request or not. You cannot control how he will interpret that or how he will feel or she will feel about it. So stay away. Why run the risk of trying to connect with somebody and then, what happens if they do accept it and then they see you're connected to so-and-so who you used to work with at such and such company who doesn't like you anymore, and then he's good buddies or she's good buddies with him or her, and then they call him, and I wouldn't do any of that. If you feel like you made a super duper connection at the interview, and you say, hey, listen, I'd love to connect up on LinkedIn. How would you feel about that or whatever? That's cool. But I would never, ever, 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 never send it before the interview. Ever. No. Do not do it. Trust me. Only bad stuff can happen. All right. I'm going back to Marco. Kara is letting me know. Marco updated his question. Andy, there are many HR consulting firms. These companies do intermediation with various industries. Is it a good effort to send the CV to these companies? Yes, resoundingly. I would, without a doubt. I don't even know that there's any explanation there. Yes, I would do that. You can control that. Reach out. That's totally cool. Okay. Let me see. Leslie. Resume quest. Andy, I have 20 years of history with great banks. 2008 laid off. No surprise there. Then I started a distillery. Woohoo! Looking for investing product manager job. Do you agree to keep the distillery on the resume? So if I'm assuming you've been with this distillery for almost 10 years or 10 years. It's hard to take it off because if that's true, it's a huge chunk of your life. So what I would try to do is there anything related to the distillery work that you did that you can connect the dots between the skills that you accrued in those 9 or 10 years and the investing product manager job. But I that's a long thing to explain. I mean, that would be a long gap to explain, assuming that you got 20 years in and then you got 10 not. I would simply and I will go back to our Walker, when I was explaining to him about laying out the resume, the career profile, and the career highlights. You could, in the career profile, you could say, 20-year experienced, banking professional or whatever you want, so on and so with banks such as, X company XYZ and so on. And then, you're knowledgeable on all this stuff, and here's your core competencies. That's how I tell you to lay it out in the resume template. You could also put recently a business owner of a, distillery, just to let them know. But I would accent all the other stuff. And then your highlights, your 3 highlights, or 4 highlights, however many you put, I would then put the banking stuff. And then you got your 10-year distillery run, and then what I would do is, and I know people don't always agree with this, okay, so if you got 30 years of work experience, try to get it on the resume because that 20 matters. That 20 matters even though it's 10 years ago. So that's what I would do. I'd have to see it. I don't know. I can't remember if you're in the programs or not with me, but that's what I would do. All right, Kyle, question. Can you have too much experience for an internship but not enough for a full-time job? Also, what is an employer looking for in an intern's resume rather than in a full-time position? So, Kyle, those are great questions. The answer to your first one, can you have too much experience for an internship but not enough for a full-time job? So, an internship in the most traditional sense, not always, but in the most traditional, is usually from somebody who's typically in school, or there might be internships that you're doing on a part-time basis because you need to do, there's some specialties, professions that require them, that you have to do that before you take a full-time job. But if you are a student and you are looking for an internship, there's no way you can have too much experience to be hired. So for a full-time job, I think that each company is so different in how they approach whether they're going to hire somebody for a full-time job. What I'm wondering is, are you looking for an internship or are you looking for a full-time job? But the answer to your question is no. I don't think you can have too much experience for an internship. And then what an employer looks for here again, that's unique to the employer. What the best employers look for when they're looking for an intern is they're looking for probably a student who has studies in their field, and that's kind of your school studies when you're a student really serve as are analogous to your experience when you're a professional. So that's the first thing. Second thing is they're going to look for the common traits that they're looking for in any good employee in their company, whatever those cultural traits are or domain expertise traits are. So, is the person a go-getter, high energy, positive attitude, self-starter, entrepreneurial in nature, those kind of things, if that's what the position profile calls for. So it's really difficult to say without knowing specifically the situation. But I hope that helps. Arjun, send resume. Let me see. IT can't. Arjun, I'm looking through here. Send your resume at. Okay, so Arjun is a recruiter. I'm assuming cover letter is really important for approaching a job, and it's true. Nowadays, every client's Mr. Google. Haha, I love it. Yeah, it's true. All right. Daniel Thomas. Hi, Andy. Interview number 2 was 2 weeks to the day. Okay, not heard back. Should I inquire with an email to my potential boss? Interviewed with her, but the company recruiter has been scheduling the interviews. Love this question. So I'm going to repeat it, and then I'm going to dive right in the answer. So Daniel Thomas asks, hi, Andy. Interview 2 was 2 weeks away, and he hasn't heard back. He wants to know if he should inquire with his potential boss, even though the recruiter's been handling the situation and the scheduling. So, Daniel, I'm going to elevate the question. I'm going to genericize it a wee bit. First thing is, whenever you go to an interview, anybody who's interviewing, if it's the first interview, the second interview, it makes no difference. We go to the interview. When you get done with the interview, you always want to ask what the next steps are. I don't know if you did or you didn't, doesn't matter. But try to get an idea of what the next step is or when you'll hear back from them. A couple of things are going to happen. They'll either say, I don't know what the next steps are. Maybe you're interviewing with somebody who doesn't really know. Maybe you talk to the recruiter's not sure. He or she wants to hear back from the people you interviewed with. Or maybe she says, our standard practice is we get together at the end of the day. I'm going to email you tomorrow or next week or whatever. She might be specific. Like, I'm going to email you tomorrow. I'll email you within 3 days. I'll email you within 7 days, or I'll call you or whatever. Or it usually takes you could get any one of those. So if they're definitive and they say, we will get back to you in 2 days, or whatever the day is. If they don't get back to you within the 2 days, give them another couple of days because it was a short amount of time, and just check in and email the recruiter. If they say, we're not sure when we're going to get back to you, wait 7 calendar days. If you have not heard within 7 calendar days, email the recruiter or whoever your point of contact is and inquire. It's okay. If they say, hey, we're going to get back to you within 7 days, 7 days comes and goes, wait a couple or 3 days, and then email in or call in, whatever you want to do. I would generally recommend going at the recruiter, not the boss, because you want to make sure you're in good stead with the recruiter, because the recruiter's been quarterbacking the process and scheduling the interviews. I would go back to her and I would inquire. So I don't love that it's been 2 weeks and no one's contacted you. That's not a great sign. I'm not saying that it means you're not getting the job. I'm just saying from a company standpoint, if they're going to wait 2 weeks and not contact you, I would at least like them to 7-10 days in to say, hey, we haven't gotten together, we're still interviewing candidates or whatever, we'll get back to you by, because that is something that they should do. Just from an etiquette standpoint, not to mention it's a reflection on them. And if they don't get back to you within a couple weeks and they've never given you any indication, it's not a great sign, meaning about the company itself. So that's to answer your question, I would shoot her an email and I would say, hey, it's been 2 weeks. I just want to express I'm still super excited about the opportunity, or I am excited. Don't even take the word still out, but I'm excited about the opportunity. I want to know if you've made any decisions, and I'd love to hear from you. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, Evan Vargas. When should I check back on a company I have submitted a resume to when it's under consideration on their end? Okay, Evan, another great question. Timing stuff. We get a lot of these. When you submit your resume, if you've emailed it to somebody or you plop it in the applicant tracking system and nobody gets back to you, 7 days. 7 days. That means Tuesday to Tuesday, 7 calendar days. And then email in or check in, and then if no one gets back to you, wait 2 more weeks. So first round, 7 days, then 2 weeks, then give up and move on. And I would not even have a lot of mental energy invested until I actually hear from them. You don't know. By the way, you have no idea what the delay is. Somebody could have been on vacation. Somebody could have just been starting in the job. Maybe they've got some candidates they already like. They're moving on with other positions and so on. So it's not your issue. Don't take it personally, but that's what I would do. That's how long I would wait. And hey, look at that. Philip, 7 days. Nice. Okay, cool. I agree. Baby Turtle, question. Emailed to HR and hiring manager after 5 weeks interview. Told it takes 4 weeks. HR replied, still waiting for a decision from hiring manager. Will get back to me. Now it's 8 weeks. Do I email again to the hiring manager? Okay, wait. So I want to make sure I understand this. Or recruiter, since they said the position is still open. So you emailed the HR and hiring manager after I don't know if your interviews took 5 weeks or if it was 5 weeks after the interview. Either way, told it takes 4 weeks. Maybe is it 4 weeks to decide? The HR still was waiting for a decision. Will get back to me. Now it's 8 weeks. I would email back the HR person. And here again, if these companies are dragging their feet like this, I think it sends a message about their lack of organization and internal processes. It's not a great sign. I don't know your personal situation, if you desperately need this job, but it's sending these messages. But while you're waiting, I would be actively pursuing other companies that I was targeting or other positions that I was finding. So I would email her back, but that's a long time. That's a long time. All right. Emilia LaCivita, that's my mother, folks. I hope you and Dad are doing well. Give them a hug for me. All right, Linda M. You also have to remember that even though a company is located, they may have, that's right, work from home. I like you, Paul. Thank you. Redu. Okay, here, question. How can we use your techniques to narrow down the number of companies for finding temporary consulting opportunities? Secondly, how about finding remote positions? Okay, so these are great. Redu, those are great questions. Using the techniques. So my techniques for what we just talked about here are no different if you were looking for consulting opportunities. So you could use those techniques to target consulting companies. So you can use, you can actually go after consulting companies that actually place people on a part-time basis. Or you can go into organizations, just regular old brick and mortar Fortune 500 companies or Fortune 5000, whatever it is, and go into and submit a message to them that says, I'm looking for consulting positions or temporary work within your organization. Do you have those? Or just I'm inquiring to see if there are opportunities like this. Same techniques. Use your cover letter to kind of set the tone for that. So I hope that helps. And remote positions, I would, what I would do in those cases is a couple things. I would use Mr. Google, start looking for positions that are remote. That a lot of times is advertised that remote work is okay. And it'll say that. But the other thing is you could inquire in companies that are in different states from you that you want to work for, and just say, I live in New York. You're located in Iowa. I'm inquiring about an opportunity with you, and I would be open to working remotely or whatever. You could say that. I mean, it's don't be bashful. Don't be bashful. All right. Anna Filipkowski is in the boot camp, and she loves it, and I love having her, and it is fun. Again, hey folks, just to mention, keep an eye on your inbox because I'm not going to go in a ton of detail about this, but the boot camp is we have a little price discount on the regular rate, but I've also carved out a piece related to the rest. So if you can't afford the whole boot camp, I've got little pieces of the boot camp that you might be able to join. So and I've got some course bonuses and other things. So keep an eye out for that. Let me see. I will take a couple more questions here because I have to go to a meeting. All right. Calagenia Newman. Hi, Andrew. I'm going to have an interview with an international NGO tomorrow. The job description requires someone with at least 8 years of experience, but I'm having 15. How to ace and get them to hire me. So for you, it's okay that you have more years of experience. Don't worry about it. They just said you needed at least. I would highly recommend my 3 keys to ace any job interview. It is 1 solid hour. I do not shut up. It's kind of like my whole life. And I get you some great detail, not only on, the communication issues and how to make your communication shine, how to sell yourself, how to get the information you need, but there's a couple of great giveaways in there too. It is well worth it. Trust me, it is worth your hour to go in and check that out. Pinja, good. Hello from Germany. Lucas, great. And look at that. Hi, Andy. I followed your tips and I've got an interview in P&G. Thank you. Now I will see your interview tips. Love it. Lots of luck, buddy. Jesse, how do you adjust your... Okay, here's a good question. Jesse Baird, how do you adjust your approach when you are interviewing for an internal position and the hiring manager already knows you very well, but you still have to go through the formal interview? I would recommend the same thing that I mentioned to, I think it was Vicky, and I would get that career achievements journal of mine. You can go to andrewlacivita.com and just type in career achievements journal in the search bar. And I would grab that and I would collect that information in that career achievements journal, and I would use that in speaking to the hiring official who knows you to make sure that you're bringing up all your awesomeness to the top. It is a great vehicle, and everyone should have that. Everybody should have, not only should they have my career achievements journal, but you should collect the insight that I highlight in that journal to make sure it lives and breathes with you for the rest of your life. Okay, one more question here. Rajani, I'm following your videos last couple of weeks trying to build a resume with your template. Thank you so much for your kind service. It is helping me and boosting my confidence a lot. Yes, that is awesome. Folks, stick with me. We should have fun with this. I know job searching is a struggle, but I want to make it as fun as possible. And your confidence and your attitude has a lot to do with your success. Trust me, it's the way the universe works. You got to ask for what you want, and you got to say it out loud, and you got to think it with confidence. So I'm glad to hear it. Ooh, I think I lost my spot. Hang on. I got a whole bunch of other people on here. I didn't even see you guys. Where is I? Anna, Lucas. Hang on, I'm trying to find my spot. Oh, I hate that. Hang with me, guys. Hold on one sec. Trying to get back. Oh, here we go. All right, couple more. Hang on. Oh, Linda's in for recess. R. Walker, Mikkel. All right, let me see here. I'm just trying. Here's one other thing. Pinja said she tried one of my questions. I have a video out there, my top 5 questions to ask in a job interview. Check that video out. One of those questions is, what would surprise me within the first week of the new job? And the interviewer smiled and gave me a satisfying answer. I love that. All right, hang on. Let me see if I... Let me see. Okay, wait, this is a good one. Okay, so Don had an in-person interview 2 weeks ago, sent 3 thank you emails. Don Benak. Okay, had an in-person interview 2 weeks ago and sent 3 thank you emails the next day. No response. What's the next step? So what's important to understand about this is not everybody will respond to your thank yous. Take comfort in knowing you sent them. They were effectively crafted. I have a thank you template out there, folks. It's my winning thank you template. If you don't know how to send a thank you, go watch that. It's on the blog. It's on my YouTube channel. Your next step is, Don, go back to your point of contact, whether it's the HR person or recruiter, and just say, kind of use that 7-day guideline or 10-day, whatever it was. I don't know if they said to you, and it's been 2 weeks, so you want to get back in touch with them. I would go back to your point of contact. All right. Trying to find here. Okay, I'm gonna give Anna one here. This is a, and then we'll sign off. 12:08. Anna's saying she's still getting no response to her inquiries. I started sending paper resumes with the boss letter. So I have a boss hunting letter. Is it a good idea? So a couple things. I do think it's a good idea. I would try different tactics. I would also, because you're in the boot camp, email me what you're actually sending so I can look at it and give you some live feedback, or I'll call you or whatever. I mean, that's the treatment you get when you're in the boot camp. So Anna, we are going to get you over the goal line. Send me what you're sending them, and I will look at it. Okay, folks, on Anna's question, I need to run. I love having you. Do me a favor, give me a like, a comment, and a share. If I did not get to your questions, I decided when this is over, I'm going to make this video public right now. Right now. I normally was waiting till Tuesdays, but I'm going to leave it public so you can hop on the comments and just put the comments in the comment section, and then later or this weekend, I will try to answer as many of those as I can. But make sure you're subscribed. I'm back next Thursday. Actually, the number of Thursdays in a row, like 6 weeks in a row without interruption. Stop by, make sure you're subscribed, turn on the alerts, the little bell, so you get notified when I go live. I'm going to be moving the time around because I've got people all over the world. I got the poor folks in Europe. It's late at night, and sometimes it's middle of the night. And so I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to kind of catch me at a normal time in their day. So, but if you're on my Tips for Work and Life subscription list, you're going to get an email with the times and all that good stuff. So that's it, folks. Love having you. Make sure, comment, let me know, like it, share it, spread the joy with other people. Let them know about me so I can help them too. Till next week, we'll see you.